Good evening, guys. So we'll start the MITACS webinar right now. And so I would like to introduce our speaker for today. It's the machine learning domain head for Tech Clubs Zenith. It is Kamya Hari. She's in Canada right now, and she's taking so much effort and time to do this talk with us. So I hope it should be great. And over to you, Kamya.
Hi guys. Is my screen visible?
Yeah, it's visible.
Yeah. So hi guys. I'm Kamya. I'm a final year undergraduate at SSN from the Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering, and I'm right now in Canada. Doing an internship for 12 weeks, and that was through the MITACS Globalink Research Internship program. So I'm here to talk about the program itself and a little bit about the application process and, tips on how I actually uh, applied to this and how I got it. Talking about research internships in general. So why do we want to go for research internships? So one thing with research internships is that you get hands-on experience. Almost every research internship has some kind of a lab associated with the professor. So the lab has excellent amenities. For example, let's say you're doing a machine learning internship. You get access to a huge amount of GPUs to train your model. And let's say you're doing a biomedical imaging internship. You'll get to work with world class scanners and a lot more other equipments which are actually used in cutting edge research. So that is one of the biggest advantage of research internships. Then you obviously do get a lot more knowledge about the domain itself. So because you'll be actually dedicating your whole time towards studying the domain, so you'll end up having more knowledge. You'll be more knowledgeable of what's actually currently happening in the domain. What are future scopes you can work on possibly, and all this knowledge is actually going to be helpful when you choose academic life, when you choose to go into academia. Let's say maybe you want to do a PhD. Then these research internships can act as a very good predecessor for that, for you to get a feel of how actually it is going to be like. And that brings to my next point about academia life. So you'll be in an environment with other master students, graduate students, PhD scholars, postdoctoral fellows, and professors themselves. So you'll get to know how the work environment of a academia would be like. How much research you can actually be performing when you are an academic or when you're going to do a PhD, and you'll be, as I said, because you'll be meeting these many number of people, it'll obviously lead to a lot of networking. So all these people here are very much knowledgeable in their field of expertise, and so you getting to know them and talking to them about your research and learning about their research is going to be super gratifying. At the same time, you get to know people, so which can obviously lead to a lot of collaborations at a later point of time. So not only people from the domain you are actually working on, but from other domains as well. So you can collaborate on an interdisciplinary project or something. So yeah, meeting people is always nice. And last but not the least, it will be a very good factor in your graduate school applications, because you are expected to have some kind of internships, and having a research internship kind of looks better on a graduate application, because you will be knowing what kind of work you have to put through for you'll already have a feel of the academic life. So yeah. Now going on to talk about what actually the MITACS Globalink Research Internship is about. So this is an internship offered by MITACS. So MITACS here is a non-profit organization in Canada, and they fund a lot of, research. Like they provide a lot of research grants, and they encourage. Basically, they kind of act as a funding partner for a lot of universities and different organizations. So they offer this 12-week internship program. And this gives you an opportunity to go work under a Canadian professor in Canada. And this Canadian professor can be under different, research labs and different universities. And luckily for me, this year it was offline, and I hope so it is offline for you guys as well for like the 2023 batch. So you'll be in Canada during the whole duration of the internship. And the best part about it is like it's fully funded. So right from your flights to your accommodation to your living expenses to your visa, everything is covered by MITACS. And yeah, it's amazing. So talking about the eligibility criteria, so we have to be enrolled in a full-time program as we are in our college. And we should have 1 to 3 semesters of undergraduate or undergraduate masters left as of fall 2023. So what this kind of says is that when you're applying, you should have like at least 3 semesters of undergraduate left as of fall 2023. So like in our context, it will be like third year of your bachelor's degree will be like the ideal time to apply to MITACS. And you should be available to go to Canada for the entire duration of the internship. And you have a minimum grade requirement here, which is 80%, which comes to like 8 CGPA in our context. So yeah. So moving on to the application process in itself, one of the major, milestones in like application for MITACS while applying for MITACS is that like project selection. So you have to be very careful about the project you're choosing. I believe this is one of the most important sections of your application. So just don't overlook about it. Like make sure to like properly research through each and every project you're applying for. So according to MITACS, you can apply to a minimum of 3 and a maximum of 7 projects. My personal suggestion would be that to apply for all the 7 projects because it obviously it gives you more like options and opportunities to actually get selected. And one more thing is that the project should be spread across at least 3 different provinces in Canada. So there are like multiple different provinces in Canada. So like, for example, I am right now in Winnipeg, which is in a province called Manitoba. Most people will be familiar with Toronto, which is in a province called Ontario. And Montreal is in Quebec. Vancouver is in British Columbia. So there are like lots of different provinces in Canada. So make sure like it is required that you should actually apply to projects at least in 3 different provinces. And apart from that, the portal will not just contain projects regarding engineering alone. It's going to be having all types of all domains, all fields you can apply for. Like for example, we do obviously have engineering projects. Apart from that, there are business programs if you are really interested in looking into that. And there are programs for literature students and so on and so forth. So yeah, like it's not just engineering or specific to some kind of a domain. It's completely diverse. And with many choices comes, a lot of consequences. Like, so like you get, because you're offered such a huge variety of projects, it is common to get overwhelmed with the amount of choices and you get confused as to what project you're applying for. And in the end, you just get confused if you're like actually, applying to the right project or no. So that's why I would say dedicate a lot of time to go through the project and for the project selection part, so that you're actually capable of you don't have these worries at the end. Yeah, now let me just take you to the MITACS portal and just show you how it is there. So as you can see here, it's going to be like this when you go to the MITACS portal, and you have an overview of the timeline. And so basically, this year the deadline is on 22nd September, so make sure to apply before that. So if you click here, it opens to the registration portals. So just go to register, enter your name, email, set a password, and then you can log in. So once you log into the student application platform, what happens is that you'll be asked for your basic questions, like you'll be asked about your name, the college you're studying in, your grade point, and also it will ask you if you've taken up any English language test like TOEFL or IELTS, which is not mandatory, but if you do have those scores, just enter them in the portal. And you'll be asked about some passport details as well, which I will talk about later. But I'd just like to go through the criteria here as well. So as you can see here, you should be a full-time undergraduate in any one of these countries. So India is a part of it. And you should have 1 to 3 semesters remaining in your program as of fall 2023. So basically, after your internship, you should have at least 1 to 3 semesters remaining. So that is what they're trying to say. And you should be available offline this time to go and work for 12 consecutive weeks. And the minimum grade requirements, as I told, is like 8 CGPA. CGPA should be minimum of 8 for you to apply. And these are about the documents, and be fluent in oral or written language of the project, which we'll talk about like while going through the project selection. And about the passport, again, I'll come back. And these are about the documents, and be at least 18 years. And as I said, minimum of 3, maximum of 7 projects. And yeah, so now let's move on to the project section. So this is how the project section in MITACS would look like for you to like browse projects and go through them. So as you can see here, there are like many different. So you can see machine learning here. You can see quantum, computing here, and you have a lot of different, topics to work on, not just machine learning or the basic AI stuff. You have a lot more other domains you can actually potentially work on. You have robotics, you have web development, you have a lot of different domains for but for you have CAD. So for mechanical people, they can go for that. For chemical engineering people, there are microstructures. Civil people, so that I'm pretty sure there will be at least like a couple projects in the domain of your interest. So it's about it's the way you actually find out about the project and prioritize them so that you actually end up getting the internship. So as you can see, there are like a total of 3,111 projects. So for an example, let me just say, okay, image processing. So I want to work on image processing. I don't mind any language, or usually if you do not have any kind of, if you're fluent with French, that's amazing. Please do mention it in your application. But usually we are, English students. So you can put the language filter as English. And let me just give you an example without using much of the filters. And I'm just gonna search for image processing. And as you can see here, we have 106 projects in image processing alone. So you have, so for example, let's take this project. Okay, so it is medical diagnosis with thermal image processing. So when you click on view detail, you can actually look into the details of the project. Make sure to go through the project description entirely. Look at the supervisor, look at their specialization, what they are actually working on. Look at the province, university, and language, and start date. Okay, so one thing with MITACS is that the profs usually mention the start date So like as you can see here, first May is mentioned at the start date. So make sure that the start date is actually flexible, because our schedules have actually been delayed from the normal ones because of COVID and a lot of other stuff. So it is always better to have a professor who's actually flexible with the timings, flexible with the start date, so that you don't actually, because like if there is a conflict in that, it might actually lead to the termination of your internship as well. So just make sure, so if you go on the additional information, so preferred start date is given as 1st May, but it is shown that the start date is flexible. So Canadians actually have a long summer here, because I think so they have a summer right from April to September. So they have like quite a while for like summer. So like they are usually very much flexible with the start dates, but again, it depends on the professor and the project you're working on, because like, let's say if it's a group project, then coordinating everyone on the same date will be better for the prof than like, letting each one of them start at a different time, which is going to lead to a lot of chaos. So yeah, talking about the project again, just go through the project description, make sure it is something you actually want to work on. I'm stressing on this again and again, because like this is what you'll be spending your whole summer doing. So just make sure it's something you're really interested in and really want to work on, and just don't apply it for the sake of applying. And you will be also given student roles. So you'll be mentioned about like what you are expected to do. So you can see here, you're supposed to do image processing using MATLAB or CD. You have to apply some feature extraction algorithms, and yeah, you basically have to analyze the image and try to get something out of it, right? So then talking about the required skills, so these are the like required skills. So like I think so the prof has put these two, like they've interchanged them. So basically you'll be requiring skills in MATLAB, or you have to be familiar with Python to work with OpenCV. I think that would be like one of the important required skills here. And apart from that, as you can see, it's even more clearly defined on like what you are expected to do in the project. And yeah, so in the project, the student will be involved for image processing and collecting thermal image. And this section is called project activities, and in the MITACS, you'll actually have a similar question here in your application portal. If you look into it, you'll have a similar questionnaire. So one thing I would advise you to do is kind of cater it towards the project you want to work the most. So let's say, for example, I want to like work on this project really bad. This is like my first choice. Then what I do is what I would actually do is try to make my answers match such that it's very much close to this. So what happens is that when you do that, MITACS has like a matching algorithm. So your application, the chances of your application getting forwarded to the professor to like for interview and shortlisting is higher in that scenario. So just make sure it need not necessarily be the same as this, but just make sure it's very much similar to what the project activities actually entail. And yeah, this is how you go through a project. Just read through it. Let's go for another one as well. Maybe like okay. Yeah. So you have deep learning to interpret images and videos. So you can know about the prof. The university, the province, and when you're actually starting it. So as you can see here, yeah, this is one more thing I wanted to talk about. Not just looking into the project description is going to actually help you. You have to look into the professor as well. So let's say, for example, let's take this prof, Lee Cheng. So as you can see here, when you Google Lee Cheng, you'll actually end up getting the profile of the professor. You can just go to the Google Scholar, check what kind of publications they've actually, published, what kind of research they're actually working on, look up their citation counts, and you can just go to their website as well. You can learn a lot about the prof in itself, and so knowing about the profs actually will kind of give you an idea of, like, whether if you have the potential of working under them and all that stuff. So you can see he mainly works with computer vision, deep learning, and image signal processing. And you can see here he's attached a link to the lab as well, like a lab in which you'll actually be working on. So you can go to the website and you can like read about the prof in itself, and you can go through his publications, like just see if it aligns with your interests. And yeah, you can maybe look into other members of the lab. So if you go to the people section, you'll obviously be seeing other members of the lab who are working. So you can just go see if you'll see their profiles, look up and like see if it will actually match yours and if there is actually a probability of you getting selected. So you can just go through the student roles and you can look up at the required skills. One more thing I would insist is that while preparing your resume, just make sure you mention the required skills in your resumes. Like just mention it crisp and clear that you actually have the skills, so that the prof knows, as soon as looking at your resume that, okay, you might actually be a potential candidate he could select. So yeah, so this is how you go through all these projects. So I know there's like a lot of projects here, but you have to make sure to dedicate some amount of time for this. Just go through all the projects. Try to try to use the filters even more specific. So let's say you just want to go to Ontario, like you don't want to go to any other province other than Ontario. Just use the filter and make sure you kind of reduce the number of projects you are actually looking at, because the more you look at, the more overwhelmed you get and more confused you get on what projects you should actually apply. It might not work out well at the end. So let's say even in image processing, I just want like medical image processing or something. Then yeah, so you try to be as specific as you can with the filters, so that you end up looking at what you actually want to apply for, and just don't get not get distracted by other projects. And yeah, so that's how you look through different projects in the portal. Now coming back to the presentation. Yep, so use the filters wisely, as I said. And I would say the most time consuming part of your application will be to select your project. So make sure you go through the project requirements, make sure you actually satisfy them, because again, there is no use in just trying to apply. If you do not actually satisfy the required criteria, they won't even bother looking at your application if you don't have the required skills mentioned. And make sure you satisfy the required skills, and look into the process. As I said, if you just Google them, you can actually end up looking into the prof, looking into the lab you will be working on, looking into the people, what are the publications of the lab, look at the citation count, look if it's actually making an impact. And yeah, so, and depending upon how you feel, if you feel like you might actually have a chance at getting selected by this prof, then definitely go and apply for it. And one more thing I wanted to mention was there is a website called Rate My Prof. So almost every Canadian professor is kind of rated in the website, in the sense that you can have a feel of how they actually interact with students. So Yeah, but like one thing I've observed is that like student interaction and interaction with people you do research is completely different when it comes to profs. But again, you know, it's just going to give you a better idea of about your prof, and you can kind of, you know, draw a mind map of him and like, you know, him or her, and try to see whether you'll actually be suited with them to work on research. And yeah, talking about university rankings. So one thing is that university rankings actually don't matter. What you have to actually look into is the professor themselves and the research they are doing, if it is aligned with yours. I mean, university rankings do matter in a scenario I'll be talking about next, but then it's not really, it should not you know, influence your project selection as much as, you know, the professor themselves influence it. So, and to do the project selection, I would say Excel is your best friend, because like you can just go through different projects. I'll give you an example of how I did it. So I had the project ID, the project name, the name of the prof, the university I'm applying to, the ranking of the QS ranking of the university, the province in which I'll be applying to, and their corresponding Canadian rank as well. So like I just like, you know, first had like about 50 projects shortlisted, and then it came down to 30, then it came down to 10, and then it was super confusing as to pick what 7 I'll actually go for. So I did like a color coding scheme where like, you know, green is the one I'll be actually applying for. Orange is something I'm doubtful about, but I'm really interested in. And red is something I don't want after looking up at other projects. So my advice is that use Excel. It's going to help you a lot. And so since you're gonna, you will be able to apply for 7 projects. Let's say you have, let's keep 1 to 2 as dream. Like so dream projects, 2 to 3 as target or achievable projects, 3 as safe projects. So just make sure you have a minimum of 3 safe projects just to make sure you get the internship, and 2 to 3 target or achievable is that you feel like you can actually make it, but you're not sure. And dream is something you feel very ambitious about, and but you're really interested in, right? One more thing is that dream projects usually, you know, encompass like universities with higher ranking. Let's say University of Toronto or University of Waterloo. They have they come under top 100 in the whole, like, you know, in whole world rankings, like the QS world rankings. So one thing to consider about while applying is that when the university is highly ranked, automatically the amount of research is going to be good, and it's going to turn into highly competitive as well. Because a reminder, this is being applied, like not only you are applying for this project, like not only people from our college, they're going to be people from IITs and IITs who are, you know, who have like a better exposure to research, and, you know, better faculties, better and lab amenities. You might actually apply for these projects. And not only people from India, and it's like people from Korea, you know, Hong Kong, Tunisia, a lot of other different countries are going to apply for the project. So just remember that when the university is highly ranked, it's highly sought after. So I would say a safe range will be universities which have a QS ranking more than 150, or a Canadian rank more than maybe 6 or 7. So these are universities where you can actually have a real shot of getting into an internship. I'm not saying that you won't get an internship in a highly ranked or a university or something, but then it's usually generally difficult if you don't have the proper amount of research experience to get into highly ranked and highly competitive universities. So make sure to have at least 3 safe projects, and the safe projects should have, like, I would say my safe projects had a rank more than 500 in the QS ranking. So just make sure, you know, you can actually, you know, get into the, go through the projects themselves, and, you know, be able to shortlist them like this. Yeah, so the major part of the project selection, like project application process over, this is all just going to be like admin work. So it's going to ask you for your documents. So you'll ask for your transcripts or grade sheets. To go to the exam cell, try to get your transcripts or grade sheets as soon as possible, because they'll keep, it's going to take a lot of time. Now that fourth years are having placements as well, they're going to have a lot of requests for transcripts. So just make sure to get it sorted as soon as possible. So for resume, MITACS does provide a resume template, but then it's not necessary you need to use them. You can use Overly for templates. In a way, MITACS resume is kind of confusing. So I would say just go for the normal resume format you use. I would suggest Overly because they have amazing templates you can work with. Talking about letter of recommendations is that, so make sure to get it from people you actually know you well. So like someone you've actually worked on a project under, someone you're doing an IFP with, someone you are, doing like just randomly you've started working on a research project with them or something. Just make sure to, get from people who actually know you well and can attest you for your strengths. So it'd be really, really helpful if you worked under their, supervision, because that goes on to show to the Canadian professor that okay, maybe like this person has actually taken up the initiative to work under a prof and try to get some sort of a research experience before, applying for an actual one. And passport. So passport is completely optional. Don't panic if you don't have like a passport ready right now. If your passport's expired recently or something, the passport will be only mainly required by February. So that's when you will actually get to know if you've been selected into the program or not. So it's just like not necessary to have your passport ready yet, but after the application process, maybe just make sure you have you apply for a new passport and have it all ready. And one more part about the MITACS application is that write-ups. So you'll be asked to write three paragraphs. Like I think so, like three different write-ups. So like so the first one is general description. So the general description, basically you should talk about your skills. Maybe talk a little bit about the projects you work on, but mainly concentrate on your skills and how you are as a person and how motivated you are and how you can, actually contribute to the research. In the notable achievements, in the personal achievements section, just talk about any scholarships or hackathons you've won. Any extracurriculars will be appreciated as well. So a co-curricular, any involvement with some club or do make sure to mention them in the notable achievements. And you'll be asked to write a research rationale. You'll be asked a question about if you've performed research outside of coursework, and you'll be asked to give a summary about it. So just talk about what you have previously done. So let's say if you've previously done an internship, talk about the internship. If you've published some paper, talk about the research you did for the paper. If you're working under a project under some prof, just make sure to mention what you're actually doing and what you like. Maybe if it's not complete, what you intend to do by the end of the project and all this stuff. One small tip I would give you is to use bullet points. I personally use bullet points because it made my statements more concise and clear and, just straight to the point instead of, using, because there is a strict word limit of 100 words for these. And, using elaborative sentences to show off your English is, it's going to take up a lot of words. And so, and it might, you might actually not end up highlighting stuff you actually want to. So that is about the write-ups. And this is the question I was talking about. Like, as I said, just make sure you look at the answers which are provided by the profs for the individual projects and cater your answers such that, there is a high chance you both get actually matched by the feature, matching algorithm MITACS use. There's not much weightage to this, but just like you may not like spend a lot of time worrying about the questionnaire, but just like kind of put some thought into it and get it done. And yeah, so your application is done. and now you have a long waiting process. So here, this year, the last day to apply is on 22nd September, so make sure you don't forget that. Even though if you're capable of submitting the application after the deadline, MITACS usually doesn't consider it, so don't bank on that. Make sure to submit your application before 22nd September. And talking about the timeline, so just collect all the documents you require for application and finish your application by September 22nd. And the selection process happens in 3 waves. So you have the first wave occurring somewhere between November to December, the second wave between Jan to February, and the third wave will actually happen in February. And you will get a confirmation regarding your internship by mid-Feb. And then you'll be off to Canada for the internship for during May, any time between May to July. And yeah, talking about my experience, so I applied for MITACS and I got 3 interviews in November, that is in the first wave of applications. And one of the interviews was actually with the professor I'm currently working under. And yeah, it was really smooth. The professor mainly questioned about like your previous work, and it was usually casual chit chat and nothing you need to worry about. And then I got selected in the first wave. I got selected by December, but I did end up getting my acceptance letters only in February. And because of the delay, I ended up coming super late here at the end of July. And I met some amazing people here, and I've been learning a lot about research in the lab I'm actually working on. I'm working on biomedical image processing. So mainly working with MRIs and how to use them in multiple sclerosis. And so it's been amazing to go to the lab, work on these projects, and you meet a lot of people, and it's amazing to meet people of similar interests, as well as people who are doing different stuff. And overall, you have an amazing time over here. It's completely fun, and the sunsets are super beautiful here in Canada. So yeah. So apart from MITACS, there are other research internships you can actually apply to. So you can apply to SRFP. SRFP is offered by the Indian Academy of Sciences. So it is for different institutes in India like IISc, IITs, IIITs. And yeah, so just make sure like they will be rolling out their applications by, I think so their applications end by November. But make sure to check the Indian Academy of Sciences website to know when the application starts and when it ends. Apart from SRFP, IITs like IIT Bombay, IIT Madras offer internships. So make sure to check their website as well. I think so that will come around the time of January or February, but just make sure to keep an eye out on these different websites. IIT Roorkee offers one, IIT Delhi offers one. So go through different IIT web pages and try to, look into the application deadlines. So there is DARDWISE as well. So DARDWISE is for internship in Germany, and DARDWISE application ends by November 1st. So here in DARDWISE, you have to actually cold mail profs and get their acceptance before applying for the scholarship. So now will be a time, like an amazing time to start working on the application and sending out mails to cold mailing profs, asking for them to give an opportunity to work. And NTU India Connect, you have a lot of time for NTU. I think so. The application deadline will be somewhere in December. Charpak, it's for international internship at France. It's similar to DART, but the application deadline is somewhere in January. And you have a lot more like USC, Viterbi, ETH Zurich offers one, CMU offers one. These are all other international internships and national internships you can actually look into while applying if you're really interested in research. And yeah, thank you very much for listening. And I have some time for questions. You can unmute and ask your questions, or you can drop it in the chat, or I think so Bharat will be sharing a code for Slido, so you can drop them in there as well. So, yeah. Okay. So should we take into account Okay, as I said, universities. Okay, I have a question here which asks should we take into account the university of offering of the projects? So again, as I said, university is kind of important, but not as important as the prof you're actually going to work under. So just make sure, as I said, highly ranked is obviously going to be highly competitive too. So just make sure an application has a balance of all different types of universities so that you end up having a chance of getting the intern. Okay. So what projects did you choose? So I am mainly interested in medical image processing and medical image processing using machine learning and deep learning. Right now, I am working on a project which involves biomedical image processing. I'm working on MRIs, and we are analyzing the MRIs for trying to identify factors which contribute to multiple sclerosis and detection of multiple sclerosis in a sense. I have only ongoing project. Will that affect the application somehow? Not really. I was also having a lot of ongoing, I was also having a lot of ongoing projects while I was applying. So don't worry about it. What they look for is like if you have it in you to actually work on the research project, and showing that you have ongoing projects already shows that you've taken up initiative to go out of your way to go approach a faculty or someone to work under a project. So you should be fine. Okay, the 100-word write-ups can consist of full sentences or just points like PPT. It's up to you. It is definitely not a problem. What you like, it's according to you. So like how comfortable you are with the language and how comfortable you feel you can portray yourself within 100 words. It depends on that. And did you take any English proficiency tests? No, I didn't take any English proficiency test while I applied. I have just started with my IFP 2 weeks ago. How do I ask for an LOR? I mean, our faculty are usually very much friendly, and they you can go and approach them for an LOR. Pretty much, I don't think so. They're gonna say any objection to it. Just go meet them, show them your resume. Just show that tell them that I'm applying for a so and so internship. So can you please provide me with an LOR? It should be fine. Don't worry about it. Just go and approach the prof. Okay, so I was previously working on an image processing project by the time I was actually applying to these. So I think so that the fact that I'm working on something which is very much similar to what I'm working on even here in the research intern right now shows that my interests were actually aligned with what I'm applying for. So I applied for all image processing projects, and because I was actually working on image processing while applying for the internship. And I think so that's how it kind of highlighted that, I'm actually interested in image processing and I'm working on something, and I want to work on it in the future as well. Having not done any projects till now, but interested in a project, will it be an issue? It's not really an issue. Like if you don't have projects, don't worry about it. Just make sure you highlight the required skills for the particular project you're applying for in the MITACS internship. Just make sure, because expecting undergrads to do research in that too in the second year before applying for MITACS is kind of too much. But it won't be an issue. Just give the application a shot. Just make sure you portray yourself in a very good light is all. So generally, how many LORs are required for the application? So for applying, you require 2 LORs. I would suggest submit 2 LORs if you're able to get 2 LORs from 2 different faculties. You can submit just a single LOR as well. Just make sure it's super strong and it kind of attests to your strengths as well. And it's someone you've worked under previously. Yeah, did you ask for any special permit from SSN? Yeah, as soon as you get your internship like details, so you usually what happens in SSN is that you will be given a 2-month summer intern break, the summer of your third year, like before going to your final year. But this year, because of COVID, it all got delayed and all that stuff, and you didn't actually end up getting a summer break. But usually that's how the scenario is, and I'm hoping next year you'll be able to have like 2 months of a like break for summer internship. And even if you do have 2 months, you need an extra amount of time. So you can just approach your HOD and principal to get OD for this, and that's what I did. We barely have 10 days to apply for this. How do I get all the documents? I'm pretty sure you should have all your, grade sheets with you. Or if not, you can just go ask the department office. They should be having it all ready. Don't panic. You just have to dedicate a lot of time to the application. During these 10 days, you can comfortably apply them by these 10 days. Just make sure you plan accordingly. Try to approach a professor immediately for an LOR, and yeah, prepare your resume, have everything ready, and maybe allocate like an hour of every day to go through projects and shortlist them. Does mentioning participation in an ongoing 15-day long hackathon have any impact on the resume? You can definitely mention it, but mention it if you don't have much in your resume, is what I would say. If you feel like your resume has proper stuff, like as in like in the sense that you've participated in many other different hackathons and all, then like mentioning this is fine. But yeah, as I said, it should not clutter your CV. Your resume should not exceed more than 2 pages, by the way. So just make sure, if you don't have much projects or participations to support your resume, then definitely do mention this. When did you exactly apply for this? So I applied for this last year. At the same time, we also had September 22nd as our deadline. So yeah. Will the recording be provided to us, Bharat? I'm not sure. I'll ask them and let you know. Do we have to spend our living expenses for those 12 weeks, or will be covered under scholarship? It is definitely covered under the scholarship. You'll be receiving a stipend of every week. So that should be more than enough to cover your living expenses. And apart from that, you'll be receiving money for your accommodation, for your flights. So this should be more than enough to cover it. And if you use it wisely, you can actually end up saving a lot of money as well. So yeah. Should the LOR be handwritten or typed out? LORs are usually typed out. Handwritten LORs are not, usually used for any application, at least right these days. I did an internship at DRDO doing some will an LOR from a guide at DRDO be valid? Definitely. Please do get an LOR from the guide at DRDO, because it's going to show that you've gone out of your way to go and do an internship under someone else. And DRDO is a very much esteemed organization, so it is going to add a lot more weightage to your application. While applying, did you have any completed projects? I wouldn't say completed, completed in the sense that we were waiting on, trying to publish it. But I wouldn't say I had a completed project, a big project which I actually completed before application. I have around 3 projects that I'm still working on. So will it be okay to mention them in the resume? Definitely. Always do mention ongoing projects. It's just that when it comes to competitions or hackathons, they don't make much value. Even so for the person who asked about the hackathon, you can mention the project you're working on in the hackathon in the project section of your resume. So yeah, that would be optimal. Yeah, I think so. I've gone through almost every question in the Slido. So yeah, if you guys do have more questions, just reach out to me. I'll give my email ID here, so you can just always type reach out to me, or try and get my number as well. Doesn't matter. I think so it's there on the poster, so you can just always contact me. If you have any doubts regarding application, I'll try my best to answer you guys. And yeah, I hope this session was informative to you.